Now I'd like to introduce Carmine from the Sheriff's Office, and let's get to what this is about tonight. Carmine. Sorry, I should have said Captain Marceno. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are you doing tonight? I couldn't hear you. Much, much better. First, I'd like to say thank you to Ron Scalzo and his team. They put on a great event. What a great turnout. You're greatly appreciated, Ron, very much, and Dean Street. Absolutely, Deanna, she's amazing. You guys are a great team. But on behalf of Sheriff Mike Scott in the Lee County Sheriff's Office, I'm honored to be here tonight. My name's Captain Carmine Marceno, and I've been in law enforcement about 20 years. Maybe a little bit more. And I want to give you a little background on me. I started my career 20 plus years ago, and I'm from the South, for those of you that are wondering, the South Bronx. and I was always, from when I was a little kid, I always wanted to be a police officer. So I always looked up to the police, our neighborhood. We all knew who patrolled our neighborhood, and when we were bad, they'd bring us home to our parents, and it was worse if we went to our parents than if we went to jail. The old school. But anyway, I go to school, graduate high school, I take all the police tests, and I end up scoring well on Suffolk County's police test in New York and Eastern Long Island. And I get called for the academy. Now, my dad happened to play pro baseball for the LA Dodgers, and I was in a family of business. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she never really wanted her little son to be a police officer because she was afraid. So I get called, I go to the academy, they shave my hair, I go through the academy. 7 months later, I'm on the street, and I'm tough. I'm creased, my badge is shiny, my shoes are shiny, and I'm 20 years old, and I'm ready to take on the world. And they tell me my assignment is midnights in Mastic, New York. So I don't even know what a midnight is. What time do you go in? Whatever it is. I go in at 10 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock at night, and I work till 8 in the morning. So I get in the car, the first day of training, you're with a field training officer. I walk in, I said, "Hey, how are you, sir?" He says, "My name is John. I'm 34 years on the force. Don't talk to me unless I talk to you." Okay, great, John. We got a plan here. He drives around. I listen to the radio. I'm nervous. And then he says, "You know what, kid? You can drive now," about 2 o'clock in the morning when he wanted to nod off. So I'm driving around 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm hungry. There was 2 places we could eat because people didn't really like the police in the area that I worked in, so we had to watch where we ate our food. I got to eat Taco Bell. I pull up, it's 3 in the morning, I place my order, I'm the next one to get my food, and a call comes out for a fight in progress. So here I am. I'm en route, I pick up the microphone for the first time, I'm en route and I sit there and I'm waiting for my food. And my field training officer says, "Hey, we gotta go." And I said, "Well, I'm a second away from getting the food, let's grab the food and we'll go." And he goes, "Hey kid, it doesn't work that way." And I said, "Wow, I'm Italian. If I don't eat, there's a big problem here." So I take off, I'm annoyed, I pull out, I put the lights and the sirens on, and I'm saying, wow, this is what I signed up for. I'm racing down the highway, lights, sirens, and I pull up, and everywhere I look, there's 20, 30 people fighting in the street. And I get out of the car because I know exactly, I'm a police officer, I'm new, I'm tough, I'm creased. And a lady ran at me who was obviously scratched up and beat up, and I said to her to back up, and she told me, "Have a nice life." So I looked at her after she cursed at me, and I said, "Oh, wait a second, I don't even know what to say here. Time out. Chapter 1 tells me, if you say that, maybe I could pepper spray you? I don't know, you know?" Well, anyway, to make a long story short, you learn real quick, and over the years, I've loved the career that I've chosen. I know everyone in this room knows now times have changed. And unfortunately, the climate for law enforcement is very, very tough right now. People don't realize how many perfect strangers run to a scenario where everybody else is running away. And we're easy to see, we're easy to forget the people that do it every day. Okay? People care about, some people care about whether Bruce Jenner is going to be a boy or girl. Or the Kardashians, you know, Jersey Shore. You know, how many people we can knock out, and it's good TV, right? Well, Unfortunately, the old school is the old school, and we're in a new era, I can tell you that. And just a little background, as well as being a police officer, why this is very close and near and dear to my heart, is I'm also a realtor, okay? I'm a realtor, and I show properties. How many people in here, is everybody in here licensed? I'm sure? Okay, so when you come to Florida, you get your Florida driver's license and your real estate license, right? Absolutely. I came down, in 2005, I got my real estate license. The first day I had a license, I pulled out of my office, and I had a buyer. He bought a condo for $350,000 in Naples. I showed the property. It was the first property I ever showed. I walked in, he looked around, I didn't even know what to say. He came out, he says, I want it. I'll sign the contract. Here's a check, kid. Here's a $15,000 check. I went back, I asked how to sign the contract, and I said, you know what? This real estate is really good. All of a sudden, you're making big money. I'm showing properties. Everybody's fighting over them. Oh, this is how much I want. It's a bidding war. So I'm doing real good, and I'm saying to myself, things are great. And then in 2007, I said, oh my God, what happened? Everything changed. Why I say that, too, is there a reason, because I'm tying it into the safety aspect of what I'm telling you. Being a police officer, you know we're suspicious about everything we do, everybody we meet. How many times did I show a property where I go to the property and I walk up and I'm looking at the property, I open it up for the buyer who I just met, and if something went wrong, I had no idea exactly where I was. I knew I was in Naples near 41, but I didn't know the address. I don't think about it because it's real estate. We're going to show the house. I'm going to pick on, are you a realtor, ma'am? Okay. When's the last time you showed a property? Today. What time? 9:30. 9:30. Was your showing appointment? 9:30. Okay. What time did you get there? 9:15. 9:15. Okay. Did you know your surrounding areas? Did you drive around before you got there, or you just showed up?
It was my second show, so I...
Okay. Your customer, did you know who he was?
Yes.
Okay. How many times have you dealt with him?
Lots.
That's a good answer. If you know who you're dealing with, it makes a big difference. How many times people get a call to their office, hey, Mr. Smith wants you to show him properties on Gulf Shore Boulevard. Or, you know, Mr. Smith is a referral and we need you to take care of him. Do you think you have to treat somebody differently who you never met, or maybe you spoke to a couple times on the phone, or someone that's referred to you by a family member? Is there a difference? Absolutely. Now you get the customer that says, I'm looking to buy a house for $500,000 in Naples. Okay, Mr. Smith, nice to meet you. I'm from New York, my hometown. And now I go and I meet him, okay? I don't know anything about him. I don't know where he came from. He was a referral. He could be an armed robber. He could be, God forbid, a rapist, a murderer. I know nothing about him, but he knows I'm a real estate agent, or, not to be chauvinistic, a good-looking lady, dressed nice, dressed well, nice watch, maybe some jewelry. You see where I'm going with this? It's a big difference. When you showed your property, if things went wrong, did you know if you had cell phone service or not? I'm not picking on you by any means, but new construction, solid concrete walls, we get up there, next thing you know, everything hits the fan, we pick up our phone, and we have no cell phone service. How many people have no cell phone service when they're in construction? I can tell you, a police phone, sometimes I don't, okay? And I know that I'm not sounding paranoid, but what I really want you to do is stop to think about when things go wrong, because in today, we see that it does. Did you plan? Did you tell somebody in your office, hey, Susan, I'm going to be showing a property at 9:30. If I'm not back by 10:30, I need you to start thinking about something. Maybe something's wrong. Most people don't. Most people don't know all their clients they're dealing with. Everybody familiar with St. Petersburg? Okay, a crazy, crazy man goes to St. Pete, or lived in St. Pete, and he decides he wants ransom for two realtors. Okay, that can happen anywhere, anywhere. And I spoke to a broker as I was coming up here, and she said, you know, can you do this training at different locations? The problem is sometimes different agencies and different brokerage have different policies. So your policy might be you have to show up 1 hour before showing. My policy is stay alive. My policy is saying, okay, if things go the worst they go, how do I stay alive? How am I proactive? Because if you're not proactive, you fail. Okay? So when you go to a showing, when you're listing a property, the biggest tip that I can give you is not only know your exact location, because we can't help you if we can't find you. Okay? But it's also knowing the client that you're dealing with. Okay? You're not going to run a full investigation on everybody you deal with, but you know when the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, and we all get that feeling, okay? When something's wrong, something doesn't feel right, it's better to get out of that scenario than to try to push a sale, okay? And many people freeze. If things went, I'm going to you only because we spoke, if things went wrong, did you already have a plan in place to know exactly what you needed to do when it happened? No. Okay, that's my point, and I'm not knocking anybody. I can tell you when I started showing property in 2005, how would it look if a sheriff's deputy is showing a property and everything goes wrong and I have no idea where I am? Okay, because a lot of times I show property, hey, at last minute I had to be there 9:30, I was there 9:15. You know, how about going an hour early and driving around and kind of looking around and seeing if there's hazards? You know, is there something that is it a wooded area that's right next to the house you're showing? You know, do you take note of the vehicle that the person, your customer, is driving? You write a license plate down. You know, just little things. You pull up, you see his license plate, and you jot it down. You know, things like that help us when we look into certain events and crime. Ron has a great picture. You know, take a picture. You can tell I'm an 8-track in a DVD world. You know, everybody wants to get tagged. Tag me on Facebook, you know. You don't realize when you take a picture on your phone, when you're showing property, okay, they know the location you took that picture. Okay, so when you take that picture on your cell phone, they know exactly where you took it. So when you're home doing your listings and you're taking photos with your, I know exactly where you live. If you don't know it today, nobody's safe with the world of internet, you know, Facebook and everything else, okay? If I want to know about somebody, I can take your name, not with the police database, but on Google, and I Google search it. It comes up with everything you've done. You know, there's no way to get around that. Social media is taking things to a different level. So taking a picture of the house, the address, the license plate of the vehicle, all things that keep you alive. You know, my coworker Jeff, he was talking about martial arts, okay? How many people in here, show of hands, how many people take self-defense classes? Okay, so probably we have 100 people in here, and there's maybe 2 or 3 people that take self-defense classes. So now when everything goes wrong, you don't know your location, you don't take a picture of the car, you don't have your license plate written down, no one in your office knows where you are, you don't know the area you're around, and now you don't even know how to fight your way out of getting out of that bad area so you can run somewhere else. Okay, again, it's not sounding paranoid, it's what keeps you alive. Again, police officers, we think the worst and we move forward, which is what we see today. You know, we live in Lee County, and I'll tell you, we're very blessed. Sheriff Scott is really an amazing man. And having worked in Collier County for many years and 20 plus years of law enforcement, the sheriff truly cares here. And we try to get out in front of the community as much as we can to educate the people on the do's and don'ts, being proactive, not reactive. Remember, reactive fails. Going back a couple years, and not as much now, when everything took a hit, I remember going to show a property and I pull up and it's a foreclosure. And I try to open it with the key, and all of a sudden I got a guy that opens the door. And I say, "How you doing? South Bay Road, I'm here to show the property." He goes, "This is my house." "This is your house? It's supposed to be vacant." Well, he's a squatter, okay? Now think about showing that property, and you have somebody that's squatting in that property, living there, and you just pissed him off, and you're trying to show one of your clients or customers the property. You see what I'm saying? Has that ever happened to anybody here, by the way? Any squatters in a house? And did you know what to do to handle it immediately? Yeah, you leave. You leave and you call the sheriff's office. Now, the foreclosures and stuff obviously are less than what they were, but there's always the opportunity to run into a squatter. And again, those people know the system, so they'll squat in this house, and then once they're identified and we remove them, they squat somewhere else. And they're squatters, they go everywhere, and they beat the system. The problem is, some of them have records, and some of them are not nice people, and then you have to deal with them as a realtor. So, very, very important. Know your location, know what you're doing, be proactive, and have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you fail. Our agency is here to help you. Again, we have so many different components. Lieutenant Robert Gizzi in the back does economic crime, fraud, identity theft, which, by the way, now that's the new crime to commit, because if you go rob a bank, you have the chance of getting caught. When you do identity theft, it goes into multi-jurisdictions and all over the country, okay? And it's very difficult for us to pinpoint where it's coming from and who's doing it. And I can tell you, every day, it's constant. Everybody wants your credit card numbers. Everybody wants your social security numbers. When you go file your taxes and they say, oh, Mr. Smith, you already got your refund. It was $1,100. And you say, I didn't get a refund. Happens every day, all day. People call your house. They say, can I get your credit card numbers? I can tell you right now, probably a 50% chance people will give their social security number and credit card number out over the phone. It's unbelievable. By the way, New Yorkers, if we locked it and bolted and concreted it down, they stole it. So, big difference. We are here to help you. We have an amazing, amazing county. Okay? Help yourself. We can't help you unless you help us. How many people here carry a firearm with them? I know Ron carries multiple. How many people? Okay. The last group I spoke to, they said, how do you feel about firearms? You know what I said? I said, if I take this gun off and I put it on the counter right here for 2 minutes, 2 hours, 2 days, or 2 months, that gun's never going to kill anybody. Okay, the people using it do. I can tell you right now, the bad people have guns. Okay, we want more good people with guns. You better know how to protect yourself. Okay, there's a gentleman back there, and I won't... Can you raise your hand, sir? With the yellow? He came up to me and he said, just to let you know, I'm carrying a firearm tonight, and God bless you. Okay, who's the first responder in your house? You are. Okay, not the sheriff's office, you are. So when someone comes to do wrong in your house, you're the first responder. So, know how to protect yourself and know how to guard your property. I can tell you, I feel blessed to be up here. I feel honored to be with all the realtors. The world is ever changing. Every time we look around, there's different crime against you guys. Again, and I'm one of you, okay? Protect yourself, be proactive, know what you're doing, know your surroundings, go early, drive around, see what it's about. If you don't do that, you set yourself up for failure. Because I can tell you, today, there's a very good chance, and I hope not, okay, but there's a good chance at some point you are going to have a conflict, or you may have someone that's going to try to hurt you or harm you. And how you practice is how you perform. And Mr. Santel out there will tell you exactly that. 30 years or 30 plus years he's been doing it. The way you practice is the way you perform. On behalf of Sheriff Mike Scott and my team with the Sheriff's Office, we are honored to help you. I'm here for anything, any questions that I may be able to answer. This isn't a taser line, I'm telling you. You can ask a question. I promise I won't tase. No pepper spray. I'm sorry?
What if you screen your plan? You think you know who it is, and you're out on a job or showing property, and then all of a sudden they start changing personality? What should we tell them to do?
I got you showing property and all of a sudden things change?
Yeah. Personality change.
Personality change. Okay, we call that, like when we see someone in 90-degree weather walking with a black trench coat, black gloves, and a black hat, we call that a clue. Okay? So when that clue arises, that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up. That's when you need to switch gears and you have to have a plan in place. If you don't have a plan in place, you're going to freeze. You're not going to know where you are. You probably won't have cell phone signal. You're not going to know your location, and you're going to fail. And I'm not saying that to be mean. You have to plan things out. Because right now, if this was a bank and I did a robbery in here, okay? And I talked to, there's 102 people in here, I'm going to have 102 descriptions as to what I look like. He was bald, he was black hair, he had blonde hair, 6'4", 5'1". This is what we're going to get, okay? If you don't plan, you fail.
You're not going to be 6'4".
Absolutely. Ron and I get to see a different world that most people... More questions? I know you some... Yes, ma'am.
I saw an ad for a piece of jewelry that had a GPS program in it that you could touch it. Is GPS
She saw an ad for a piece of jewelry that had GPS programmed into it.
And then also you could touch it and talk to somebody if you felt uncomfortable. And
Absolutely great. It's...
but how effective, more effective is GPS versus cell phone?
If you have a cell phone, we can ping your cell phone to get a location. GPS is exact location. Okay? Again, when you're talking about crime prevention isn't, well, I got a great lock on my door. Crime prevention is, my landscape is trimmed nice, I got light everywhere on my property, I have a great lock on my door, I have a security system. You can never do too much to be safe. So don't think of just one thing, think of the whole picture. It's very important.
I'm from the state originally, the Red Sox.
I'm sorry, is Boston a professional team?
How many World Series have they won? How many World Series?
I heard Ron say you got rings? Okay. She parked your car outside, get it.
Anyways, we got two different realtors who were killed in my area.
Oh,
I talked to one the day before she was killed, with the envelope in the mail from her. It was devastating for me. In our office, and I tried to tell people down here, no one seems to understand how serious it was. She was devastated.
she had two people that were killed in her office
No, two different times.
at two different times.
So we had this deal that was a kid in our office was, we had no one in my office that had stepmother. So we had a deal, but I didn't like who you were with, with another woman, I'd say, your stepmother was called.
And the plan is good because you could say, hey,
And I'll,
it's a sunny day outside. It's a clue.
or I know the house better, I'm gonna come with you, and that's how we do it.
Each of your firms, your offices, you could put a little plan in place so that you can say, it looks like it's going to rain. Well, you can't do that in Florida. Every minute it's raining. Hey, say, can you call John's mom? As soon as someone says that, you know something's not right. So have those little plans amongst each other. That's important. I'm sorry, ma'am.
My young lady, she had some security class in her office, and they said never park in the driveway until you can get dropped in. So you have to leave real quick, you're in a panic mood. Excuse me, let me go outside and check something, you get in your car, you do, but if they block you in, you're...
She said never park in the driveway. How about when you walk with the customer, how many realtors run forward to open the door and they're like this by the lockbox and the customer's behind? Okay, leave your car in a place where you can fly your car right outside so you can get out real quick. The car, okay, so park your car where you can get out real quick. Okay, and we laugh about it, but what do? We pull right up in the driveway, the customer pulls up behind, now where do we go? Now we're on foot. And by the way, we're on foot, no cell phone service, running in a direction we don't know where we are. Again, no self-defense classes, no firearm, and it's a recipe for failure.
Always in a hurry.
Ron is always in a hurry.
Always behind. We want to get in. We want to get it done.
Question?
I do have a question. When last year when some of this was going on, they had some apps out for your phone in case there was danger, you could push a button. Is there that?
We just spoke about that 5 minutes ago before we came here. She's talking about an app on your phone that would monitor, and if you get in trouble, you can press it and it's monitored. Okay?
Now, with doing that, though, what you just said, I tell my daughter, because, they sell these things on Craigslist or Facebook, yard sale, whatever, put 911 in your phone, dial it, and then end it. It's the last call you made. Keep your finger right next to the dial button. Or if you've got somebody in your office that knows where you are, put their number in there. The minute you hit dial, they're going to listen to your conversation and put your phone down. At least they'll be paying attention to what's going on. If they got to make another phone call, if you guys are talking about this, it'll work. JJ, if you know I'm at a listing and all of a sudden my phone rings from me to you, and you're hearing that, I butt dialed you, but I didn't butt dial you because, we talked about it. It's important to pay attention to the conversation. Somebody else can get on the phone and see what's going on. And I'm not saying nothing against 911, but I was a firefighter for a long time. 911 operators are just that. They're operators. They're going to start asking you questions. So I'm not telling you don't call 911, but if you already have something with a partner and they're paying attention to that phone conversation, somebody else gets on the phone with 911 to tell them what's going on. They'll give the phone number and everything else, and that other person that's listening to the phone will know what's going on if it's going bad.
And just so you know, when you call 911, we know the phone number you're calling from, and if we have to ping the phone, we can get a location. The problem is the dispatcher starts to ask a series of questions, and you might only have a split second or 5 seconds to get away from the random act of violence. So it's good to have that plan in place. And again, I can't stress enough, the plan or you fail. Most of us don't plan, and that's the problem, you know.
Actually, I have a question for you. I'm just thinking about this as we're saying it. If you happen to dial 911 and you're in a bad situation and you toss your phone, I mean, at that point, the line's open, right?
Absolutely, and then we'll do a 911 callback. We'll get an open line, and we'll have deputies respond to that location to see what's going on exactly. What is my plan? Can I tell you as a civilian? My plan is, whether I'm in the shower, mowing my lawn, not swimming, but in my backyard, I always have, my personal opinion, I have a firearm. When I go to the movies, and you'll laugh, I sit in the back, I'm away from the exits and the entrance. If somebody bad comes in, I know exactly what I need to do to handle that scenario. I don't sit when I go in a restaurant by the cash register. Too many people coming in and out. I sit at a point of advantage. That's how I think so much in advance, but it's been like that forever. My plan is, when I show a property, I get there an hour early, I look around. Is there a wooded area? What's the area like? Are the demographics showing me that there's some crime around? You know, if I show you a property in an area that has a lot of crime, you should be thinking to yourself, this is a little bit of a rough area, but I'll tell you this, not only that, we see it in the best areas. Okay, you're going to be a criminal, where do you want to hit? You want to hit in a good area too. Okay, I worked in Naples for 15 years, and all day long, we had people robbed, rolled, they took their pocketbooks. I mean, years ago, waterside shops, women would come out of Saks Fifth Avenue with their 3-foot Louis Vuitton and their Tankam and the diamond, and you know what? People waited outside, and they would hit them. Okay, so to lessen your chances of being a victim, be cognizant of your surroundings. Don't have the flashy purse. Don't wear the Rolex watch when you're showing properties. Play it down. And most importantly of all, besides your location, is knowing your customer. Okay? If it's a blind lead, that's completely different than someone that is a cousin of a cousin. Not that it can't happen, but it just makes different circumstances. Know your customer and try to not put yourself in a position of failure.
How many people here have children? A good amount. When they were in elementary school or kindergarten, we all had little code words, remember, for our kids? Making sure that, you know, nobody else came and took your kid. It was a big thing, you know, going on, and we always made sure of that. You know, well, we're in that same type of demographic for people to target, you know, realtors. It's not a bad thing when you get a call from somebody that's setting up a blind appointment, and let's just say they're from Boston, and write that down that they're from Boston, okay? And then, you know, when they show up and you start to get out of the car, you say, you know, so where in Connecticut are you from? And they go, no, I'm from Boston, remember? You know, you tell these things to the kids. It doesn't make us that we can't use the same thing. When somebody tells you something, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to remember that. And it could be something that if you don't know this person, ask it. See what the response is.
And I'm sure all the different offices here have a client sheet. So when someone comes in to see you, ask them for a driver's license. Let me tell you, when I take somebody's license, it's different when I take it now, but when I take it, it goes on my visor. When I take their license and I say, Mr. Smith, I'd love to show you property, I just got to log you into our computer. Can I get your license and so I could get you on our computer and set it up? You know what? Nobody wants to be on camera, and nobody wants to be identified. That may change the complete mix. You'll see all of a sudden Mr. Smith might not want to see properties in your office.
You do an open house. These aren't people you know. They're coming in, you're by yourself, you're like...
Oh, open house, realistically, the best case scenario, you're with somebody else. If you're not with somebody else, I get it. You can't have two people here. Okay? Make sure your cell phone's working. Dial 911 and don't hold it on until it goes through, because then we know we have a problem. But nothing wrong with knowing. And I'd have your exact location, and your office should know exactly where you are. I'll be at the open house on 1st Street from 1 to 3. So if you don't hear from me by 3:15, there's a problem. Or if I call you and say, tell Uncle Sam everything's not so good, Well, have that plan in action. Sir?
This might help some people. I actually take a highly trained dog with me out.
He said he carries a .40 caliber Glock. You never bring a knife to a gunfight, right? Any questions? Yeah.
You know, I have a problem with realtors always having to have their little glamour shots everywhere, even on their cards, and you see the advertising, and some of the female realtors have almost a sexy pose. I think they're out of their freaking mind.
Now let me ask you this, for the ladies in the house, okay? How many people have the the GQ model pose on their card, and how many people here, just a show of hands, have you ever had a client or customer want to see properties because he might have loved the advertising on the card? Has that ever happened? I'm sure it might have. I'm sure.
Or because you used your college photo.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Ma'am?
911 has texting capability. Can you text?
Can we text? No. We can ping a phone, we can call a phone back, but we don't text back and forth.
No, I don't do that. Like my watch, I have it set up to text my husband in an emergency. He presses a button. But I have 911 program in there, and it sends a map in a text form.
What we need to do is get that call. If you don't call us 911 and it goes through, we don't know what's going on. We don't get a call for service. It generates on our screen, then we get a call for service, and then we try to get your location, and then the dispatchers are trained to ask you a series of questions. Absolutely. So the 911, let me tell you something. How many people called 911 and by mistake hung up real quick and then there's a deputy at their house? Okay, absolutely. Some of the worst calls I've ever been on in my life have been a 911 hang up. Okay? You get there, next thing you know, it's a domestic homicide. There's shots fired. Okay, so you never know what you're getting into. So 911 to us brings us to a different level. Hey, it could be a mistake. It could be not.
But they'll check it out.
But we check out. By Florida state statute, we have to make contact with the person at that address. Absolutely. No matter what. Any other questions? I can tell you this. In life, there are people that make things happen, people that watch things happen, and people that wonder what happened. Be the people that make it happen. All right? We do it every day for you.
One move you can do, go from one place on the body where you go to.
Mr. Santella, if there was one place on the body where you'd want to hit, where would it be? The throat?
That's what I was going to say. Right there.
The throat area.
Right in the throat.
Oh yeah, if you can't breathe, you can't fight. I know the basics, he's the guru. Any other questions? Come on. All right, how many people want to get tased?
It's great. It'll be my third time. Once was at a intentional.
Okay, we're going to show you what it looks like. Come over here, Ron. Hey, listen, it's an honor to be here with every one of you. I please, be safe, have a plan, or you fail. And on behalf of Sheriff Scott and our office, we are here for everything you need. We're here for you. We appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Carmine. Don't go that way.